Anyways, off topic. So today, let's talk about it. Let's intro this video. Ugh, my back hurts. Okay, I can do this. Let's start. I'm getting old, Dalton. I'm getting old. I'm 38. 38.
Dude, when was your birthday? Did you just turn 38?
Last year, December 27th.
Oh, December. Nice.
Barely.
My birthday is this week.
Oh, dude, happy birthday. How old are you?
I'm turning 28.
Nice. Oh, so 10 years.
Yeah.
See? Look what you have to look forward to.
Come on. Yeah. My back already hurts a lot, so I don't know. It's not going to be good for me.
Hey, worship leader, welcome back to the channel. Today I have with me a familiar guest, not a special guest. You're just familiar now because you're not special. You've been on here so much.
That's better, though. Familiar is better than special, I think.
That's right. I think so. Dalton Schaefer, welcome. How are you, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah, doing well. Just got off of vacation and came back to a busy week of helping lead at our youth ministry, and then leading college ministry worship, and then also helping lead Sunday. And so it was one of those weeks where you're doing everything. And luckily we have a young, like an intern in college who also helps lead in youth and college some. And so, yeah, but it was a good week back.
Yeah, good. Not to mention like Good Friday, Easter, it's all right around the corner.
Yes. Yeah. I spent a good amount of time. This week's kind of a down week for us with spring break because so much stuff in our churches, school, like youth ministry is off and then college ministry is off, which is a big part of what we do. And so it's a nice down week to get a little ahead of some Easter and Good Friday planning.
Yeah. Same here, man. I mean, I didn't go on vacation, but it's been getting busier coming out of COVID. And things slowing down and then ramping back up. And now it's like, it's full on again. We're all the way back, if not more. So, but it's good. Yeah. It's exciting and things are happening and I like it. And people are coming to church again. And, it's a bunch of good things. So today I invited you on here to talk about something we're both passionate about. And that is the importance of raising up worship leaders. And so I know you do this in your context, but I thought we could just discuss. I do some of it in my ministry. And so I just thought this could be a fruitful conversation of someone who is maybe not doing it at all and is thinking, oh, I'm not qualified for that, or I don't see the benefit of doing that. Wrong. And so let's talk about it.
Wow. We could just end the video right there. Wrong. Get after it. Yeah. No, I think you're right. I think it's one of the things that you either really feel like it's important, but you don't know how to do it. Or some people, I think, maybe are in context where they don't feel it. Maybe larger churches that have multiple staff members, they can maybe get away with feeling like they don't really need it. But I think in our context, there's a real urgency that I feel just on a practical basis. Like I just said this week, where I come back and I help lead a youth service and a college service and 2 Sunday services. And it's like, wow, actually, I feel the need to raise up more laborers who could serve alongside. And so like we have an internship where this intern name's Anna. She's like amazingly gifted. Shout out to Anna Hoynes. She's just awesome, serves really faithfully, but we'll lead once a month in college ministry, but then we'll also lead about 3 to 4 times a month in youth ministry, depending on if they do service they don't always have like singing as part of the youth service, but generally 3 to 4 times a month she leads youth ministry. And that really frees up our staff to make disciples and do all the other things that are involved in worship ministry outside of just planning sets and executing those in services. And so, I think it's one of those things that's like, we should feel the weight and the need to be making disciples and training people up. And so I hope people listen to this might sense, if they're not already feeling that maybe something inside of them go like, I do think, I actually haven't had a Sunday off in 50 weeks. Like maybe I should be training someone up because I think those are the things. Like maybe you could speak into that too. But like my first church, I remember I served. I loved it, and I love that church that I got discipled in and got my first job in ministry. But I think I went 75 weeks in a row leading. Like I didn't take, and I was fresh out, like I was 22, but it's like I went a full year and a half and I didn't take Sundays off, and I didn't have other people who could really like take that where I felt confident in them. And, and I was young and my team was young and all those things. But I just look back on that and go like, I probably could have had more people come in and could have gotten ahead of like raising people up even sooner. And so, yeah, I definitely think there's an importance there, because we're also not going to be doing this forever. Like, I try to tell this to people when we're onboarding them. It's like, hey, there's a day coming, and it might be soon, it might be a long time from now, but you're not going to serve forever. Like, is this too morbid? You'll die one day. Like, either Christ will return, and that'd be awesome. And we wouldn't need volunteers raised up to, lead in our local churches. Maybe to the same degree that we're looking. I don't know what that would be like in the new heavens and new earth, if we're still going to be recruiting volunteers and like leading many worship services around. But yeah, I don't think that's going to be the case. So I need to be careful. I'm going to say something heretical on here about the new heavens and new earth. But like, the reality is, we're not going to be able to serve forever. Like, there's going to be a day where you and I both aren't leading in our current context anymore. Who are we handing it off to? Like, yeah, we could leave it up to a search committee or an elder team to go find a replacement. But wouldn't it be better if we trained someone up, instilled culture, vision, values, and like, I heard it said by Aaron Keyes when I did 10,000 Fathers, their worship school. It's called 10,000 Fathers and Mothers now. It's a great worship school that just trains people to not just be song leaders, but actually lead people. And he said, like, a lot of people think about ministry like a race, but it's not a race, and it's not a sprint. Or it is a race, but it's not a sprint. And he said it's not even like a marathon. It's a relay. It's like a handing off the baton, and that's how we should think of ministry. It's like, yeah, don't think of the short sprint. Don't even think of the long marathon. Think of a relay. Like, who are you handing the baton off to that's going to take it after you're done? And so that's definitely something that's kind of like sink down deep into my heart and soul with worship ministry, of like, man, I've got to be able to hand this off to someone. And so the best way to do that, I think, is to train up people where you're at.
Yeah, that's great. So there are several benefits, like you kind of just mentioned in there, where you can hand things off to people like now, because it gives people the ability to take the load off, and it helps you not have to be at the center of everything, which some people are designed to be the lone wolf, and they do everything themselves, and they get burnt out, or something happens, they get sick, and then the ministry falls apart or whatever.
Yes.
And the other benefit is that, we're leaving ministry to the younger generation, because we're not going to be around forever. There's that way to look at it. And there's definitely a biblical precedent for discipleship. And that's a good one. You said that already. Like, we just need to view this as discipleship. And in particular for worship leaders, we are discipling them in Christ and giving them the skill to do this particular work in the local church. And I love it. And if you think about your role as more pastoral, which I think a lot of people maybe struggle or to get there and think, oh, I'm just a music leader. I'm just a song leader. And you might be, there are some ministries and some song leaders I've come in contact with, just having discussions where that's really all the pastor wants. He's the pastor, and you're just a music person, more like a deacon. And that's, if that's your context, fine, but that's not really what we're talking about. And I'm not a pastor per se at my church, but I view my work as pastoral. And when you do that, you hear the words of Paul talking to Timothy about, raising up pastors to serve local church, who are specially trained to handle the text, be able to teach. And that's the work that gets me excited, because this is important. It's not just, I just need some help. That's a benefit, because yes, I need help. It's not just about passing it on to the next generation. That's important, because that needs to keep going. But it's also like, this is like a mandate to raise up leaders within the church. And so if listeners listening and thinking, well, do I even need to do this? Yes. Right. The excuse is no. Yes. So that's all good. So what does this look like for you in your context right now? What do you got going on as far as raising up leaders?
Yeah. So there's a couple of different things that we're doing, and I'm still pretty new in my current context. We moved here last summer. So it's March right now. So in July, that'll be a full year. And my role shifted already. And so I came in as one of two full-time worship leaders, mostly giving leadership over college ministry worship, which is pretty different from my last context. But already since I've come here, we are sending out the other full-time worship leader. So he's actually moving to Syracuse, New York, to plant a new church. And this is a big part of our network. So like a lot of churches, we're sending out 3 staff this year to plant 2 different churches in 2 different cities. And so 2 people to Ann Arbor, 1 to Syracuse. And so Syracuse will plant. That'll be awesome. But we already like need another staff worship leader. Like we're already working to hire another staff worship leader. And we also know that we're going to plant another church. Like our network will plant 3 more churches next year that all need worship leaders. And then we will plant another church in about 3 years where we'll raise up the pastor and hopefully the whole like staff team will like recruit and send them all out. I could be one of the people in the next few years who go on a church plant. And so I'm already thinking, even after I've only been here 8 or 9 months, who am I raising up to take my spot? Like if I left in the next 3 years, who's going to take that? And so that there really is like a weight of like, not only, every 3 years or whatever, we're thinking about who we're going to send, but there's also the chance that every year as we plant 3 to 5 new churches as a network, that they might call and ask for one of our worship leaders, like what we just did. And so, yeah, I feel a real sense of urgency around this. And so some of the things that we're doing is, one, we treat our college ministry context as a training context. And so anybody that we hire to come in, like we have a lot of full-time staff. I think we have 8 full-time staff roles at our church for college ministry. And all 8 of those roles, we say, hey, the hope of this is not that this is your last context for ministry, that you're going to spend the next 20, 30 years here, but actually that you would spend just a few years here being trained, equipped to be sent out. And so we have like a full-time staff position dedicated to training, equipping, and sending to church planting. And so that's kind of like what we do with our SALT company college ministries at all of our churches. So that's one context. And so like as we hire this next worship leader who will come and lead in that context, like we're telling them on the front end as we're interviewing people right now, hey, our hope is that you might be here for 2 to 3, maybe 5 years. But then at the end of that time that you're going to be sent out either to greater levels of leadership within our local church or within our network as maybe the worship director at a church plant. So then beyond that, we have like an internship program. So that would be in the college ministry role, think more like residency, full-time. There's theological training, depending on who the person is. Like it's kind of on a by person basis. But yeah, there's theological training that goes. So we put most people through this thing called VST for us. There's like a school of theology that's partnered with Midwestern Seminary. And then we might, like if they finish that and they're doing well and they want to continue, we'll put them through a master's program. So they'll get a master's in theology. So that's just like one like context for that. And so there's like coaching that goes with that. Like we do like a weekly kind of, we don't call it a worship leader huddle. It's kind of what it is. So we get some of our worship leaders. So like right now it's our 2 staff worship leaders, a girl who serves on our team, who's just like a volunteer, but is really gifted, as well as our intern. And the 4 of us meet and do like a worship leader huddle that's all development based and driven towards like growing in our understanding of like setting culture, vision, values, how to execute, planning sets, theology, all those different things. But then we also have our internship. So internship is where you have some level of leadership over a context, depending on your skill set. So for our current intern, she leads once a month at Salt Company, which is an awesome opportunity for her to serve. And that's a larger team. We have a lot of volunteers and there's a lot of students in the room. Like our Salt Company is 350, 400 students. And so that's leading like a pretty major context for a college student. So it gives them a lot of opportunities to get solid reps and like leading at a high level. But it's also really safe because like once a month, like they don't have the full weight of scheduling and all the planning and like the weekly grind of it's coming every single Thursday night that you got to get all this done. But then she's super gifted. And so we've also given her leadership over our youth ministry context. So a little bit smaller team, little lower expectation, like more freedom to fail. But within that, she does plan all the sets. She builds out all of her own tracks. She makes sure everything's set, ready to go. She does the scheduling. And so that would be like training up a worship leader, giving them reps, which we've seen huge growth in her leadership after 1 semester of getting to do some of this. Like she just took over that part in January, and from January to March, it's been like, I would say almost exponential growth in her leadership, both up front, but also just like the behind the scenes, leading meetings, those kind of things. And then we do some other things to train up people within our ministry, because we know that as we send people out, we don't just send staff members, we send saints to do the work of the ministry. And so we're also trying to be really intentional about how we train up everybody else on the team. And we've had we just planted a church in Cincinnati last summer, and the current worship director, like full-time staff worship leader over their ministry, was a volunteer on our team at Candea, where I serve now. Like he went from a volunteer straight to full-time staff lead worship director.
Wow.
And so we want to invest in all of our volunteers. So we use the worship initiative and use their training videos to equip. And then we do another program for our youth, like another layer of development as we start pretty young with our youth ministry. And we do this thing called Growth Track that's geared towards like teaching them how to play their instruments. We pair them with like a mentor coach kind of thing and do like a once a month where they do sectionals for 45 minutes or an hour, and then come together with either the full band or partial full band to practice playing with other musicians. Even if they're not ready to get on stage yet, they're getting the reps of practicing, playing in a band, learning their parts, all those things. So that's like for our youth. And then we do like a different version of that same thing for college, where we just give them the resources and have them go through it on their own.
Yeah, man, that's good. You got a lot going on, and it's really encouraging and it's motivating. Hopefully it is for people watching this. I was going to ask you, what fruit have you seen? You've kind of already mentioned some. Do you have any particular stories you want to share?
Man, I think like it's not perfect. I'll say that. Like anybody who's hearing this is like, oh, I could never do all of those things. And or maybe if I just start that, then it's perfect and it just runs super smooth. But I think the fruit that we have seen is our intern is like leading, like started leading from guitar last summer at what we call Somersault, which is another context for, I guess, like development. I didn't even think about that, but it's our summer college ministry, which if we run 350, 400 during the year, we run 30 over summer. And so it is way scale. It's 10% of our ministry or less. And so like we're talking to 2 freshmen right now who maybe together will help lead that this summer. And so it's already given leadership pretty early. But she led at that and she did a fine job, but like, I think she would agree with this. If Anna's listening to this, Anna, we love you and you're amazing. But she led at a less excellent level. Like it just wasn't the best. And when you look at where she is now, like you just push forward to March right now, less than a year later, she's leading at an incredible level. Like I would be confident in her to lead Sundays. Like, yeah, I mean, she could totally jump in, and I feel like she can do the tracks. She can get everything set up. She can plan a great set. She can lead the band, and she would execute at a super high level. And so we're already thinking, it's like, hey, what's your future look like? You know, would you go on a church plant? You know, is there a staff role for you in the next few years as she looks towards graduating? And so I think that's one of the things, is just like seeing a volunteer on the team go from volunteer to intern, leading with some authority, and then now being like, actually, this is someone we would look to as like a potential worship leader staff role. But then also like there's a 13-year-old on our youth team who the first couple of times he played, or that I heard him play, was like, it was okay. Like for a 13-year-old, he's a drummer. And a 13-year-old playing drums is kind of like maybe what you expect. And then at our last Growth Track meeting, someone sent me a video of the drum sectional, and he's playing Battle Belongs and just like killing it on, like, that's a hard drum part.
Yeah.
And this kid is little, like he's like, you almost can't see him over the kick drum. It's like, is there someone back there? But anyways, he was just killing it, doing an amazing job. Another one of our drummers, every time he played last semester, they had to cut the tracks or the click. They couldn't use tracks because they had so much trouble like staying on click, but they had to kill the click on every service that he played the whole semester. And 2 weeks ago now 2 weeks ago, we had a service where we played, and I was up playing bass, he was on drums, and we used tracks and click. And it's the first service he's played the whole way through on full kit, where he never had to kill the click or tracks. It's like already we're seeing, just in a few months, like the fruit of really intentionally investing in some of our volunteers. And so that's fun. And it frees me up. So I don't have to lead every week. Like I went from leading, at my first church a year and a half straight, no Sundays off. And then fast forward to my last church where I got about 6 to 8 Sundays off a year. Now I have about once a month off on Thursdays where I'm not up leading. And then on Sundays, right now I'm only leading 1 or 2 a month because of the pipeline of people that we have serving. And so, yeah, it's just, it frees you up to not have to be like in the grind every single week, just trying to think of like making the next week happen, which then frees you up to think more long-term about ministry and vision, values, culture, long-term goals, direction of the ministry, those kind of things.
Yeah. Yeah. And it safeguards against personality driven ministries, which is always helpful. I mean, I'm up every week because I'm the guy and I don't have other people. I try to, like this week, we're singing 4 songs and I'm singing 1 and we have 4 vocalists. So I gave everyone a song, you know, it's like, I try my best, but I'm on stage most of the time. But yeah, that's great. So if someone's listening, you know, I was trying to think through, like, they don't have a system. Maybe they're at a very small church. Most churches in America are smaller than 100, 200. I don't remember the number.
Yeah, I think it's something like that.
Something like that. So they probably don't have a system set up like my church. We just have, it's just kind of like as needed basis. Like there was a time where it was a more well-oiled machine because I had a lot of people, and then they all got sent out, and not a lot of the youth were musically inclined. There were more sports or other things. And it was just kind of like almost like a drought. But I'm starting to see more fruit. And so I was thinking for people who are in that position, they're like, man, I have no one. It's almost one of those things where if you build it, they'll come to some extent. And I know this from experience in that when I first got to the church I was at, discipleship in this way and growth in this way was not set up at all. And it wasn't even the culture. Just as simple as the same band led every week, not just the leader, but the same band, you know, and it was just, and there's benefits. It was a solid, probably I wasn't there. You know, when you play together a lot, you become solid. And I'm sure that was probably easier because you just get to know the people and you get a rhythm going. It's definitely harder to grow the team and have new people and hold auditions and then spend time investing in people. But I just already had that ingrained in me. So I just kind of started that. And as I did, there were people in the church who'd been there for years, just coming out and like, oh, I see that you've used new people. I think I'd like to try. And I'm like, yes, you know, and it just kind of snowballed to where more and more people. And then, like I said, there was this little bit of a drought and I didn't have any electric guitar players other than myself and not a lot of acoustic. So I'll hop on electric if I can get an acoustic player to cover for me. And there was a man, Ted, I don't know if he'll be watching this or not, but he'd been in the church for years. I don't know. Ted, if you're watching, let me know in the comments. Like 16 years or something. And then just all of a sudden I got an email or something. I can't remember exactly how it happened. And he's like, yeah, I play electric guitar. I actually make my own pedals and everything. I don't remember if he thought we just wasn't needed or if it maybe wasn't a good time for him. But man, he joined the team and he's like my dude now. Like he plays every other week and more if I ask him to, but I try to guard against him serving too much. But yeah, it was just an example of creating that culture and just starting somewhere. So if nothing else, most churches have some form of youth, even if it's younger, middle school. I mean, if you got 0 kids, I don't know, start pouring in some old people, but but usually someone's having kids, they're having babies. And so I just try to see the youth. And so I've started back leading in youth worship and starting to pour in to some of the youth. And I don't know if they want to grow up and be worship leaders, but we're starting, you know, we're just going to start leading. They have a passion to sing. And that's another thing is like, especially in my context, sometimes people don't need worship leaders. They may just need a bass player or they need, you know, a volunteer, someone who's talented. And they're like, man, I don't have a keyboard player all this week. I could really use somebody. Oh, I have 4 of them. That means only one of them is playing this weekend. Let me contact. And so like last week, I was able to send one of my bass players to go help a church right down the road that's in our network. And so that alone is enough to just like keep going, keep having that culture of squash any comment that says, well, I didn't think you needed me. No, we need you. We always need you. We will continue needing you until we have sent everyone we can send. So finding people you can trust. And even if that's in the youth, like start somewhere, even if it's your kid, start somewhere.
Yeah, man, no, that's totally true. And like, I don't think you can start too young. Like once people are in your youth group, that's a great time to like catch some of my favorite people I've served with. There's a friend of mine named William, and like he was 13 when I started like discipling him, and he played bass and he was okay at bass. Now like they just dropped a live recording from their church of a song he wrote and was leading, and incredible. Like he's an amazing vocalist, amazing keys player, plays guitar, plays bass, like does it all. But at 13, like he owned a bass and was hungry, it was like he wasn't super gifted at that point. And so, yeah, I just think finding guys and just speaking life into students too, of like, it doesn't hurt. Like, you don't know which ones want to grow up and be worship leaders, but it doesn't hurt to ask, hey, do any of you like want to lead worship or help on the worship team? And maybe someone will be like, hey, I really want to, but I don't really know how. And then you say like, hey, why don't you come to this once a month thing, eat a free lunch, and then we'll like pair you with a mentor who can maybe show you a little bit more about how to use the drums or how to play bass or whatever. And so I definitely think like youth group's an amazing place to start and like try things, it's just like get in there and just try something. And if it doesn't work, you can change it. But it's a lot easier to change the direction of a car that's already moving than one that's not moving at all. Think about how easy it is if you're going 10 miles an hour to turn the car around. That's super easy. But could you like imagine like making your car turn all the way around if you're not moving at all?
Right.
It'd be impossible. Like it's not possible to do unless you have like, 20 dudes like pushing your car really hard, I guess. But
my grandpa used to say it all the time. So then my dad said that can't steer a car if it ain't moving.
Yeah, dude, it's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an old person saying, right? It's like, but it's so true. Like do something, try something. Because I just think it's so helpful to get in with youth and then those will grow up to serve. Maybe they won't serve in your church if they go off to college and go somewhere else or whatever, but they'll serve a church and you'll have been a part of the mandate of training and equipping the saints for the work of the ministry. And so I think that's huge. And I think too, like just knowing like if you're at a church and you have nothing, I don't know, just like I really would just recommend like getting some time to really dream about the future and like what you want to do. Because most of the stuff we're doing at our church were years ago. I just started dreaming about like, what if? Like, what if I had an internship program? And what if we did some kind of training staff residency role? And there were just a lot of what ifs and a lot of prayer that then now I look at my ministry and I go like, oh man, I remember 6 years ago saying, God, what if you did this? And almost all of those things are like true of our ministry now. But I had stuff written down in Google Docs and in notes on my phone for years that weren't things that I were doing, but things I was hoping would be true. And so, just dream about what the Lord could do in your ministry and dream big. God can do exceedingly more than all we ask, think, or imagine. So dream big about, especially if the thing you're wanting is to do what his word commands us to do. Like the Lord loves to like come in and bless you when you like not bless with like money and cars, but like bless you with like, oh, you want to leverage your life for making a, impact by raising up disciples and sending them out for kingdom work. Yeah, that's the kind of prayer I want to say yes to. Like, I think the Lord delights in that. And so, and then just find people. There's always people in your church. Like there are people around and maybe they're not ready yet and you got to build into them. And that's the hard work of ministry, but it's totally worth it. And then just know that like, maybe quality has to drop for a little while. It's like, are we okay with excellence dropping for the sake of training up more people? And I think there's a standard. Like, I think undistracting excellence is helpful and that we should like strive for that. But, like that's why we have multiple contexts too. Like the bar of excellence on Sunday, the bar of excellence at Salt Company, the bar of excellence at youth for us is like, there's someone on our team right now who maybe could serve at youth, but can't yet serve at Salt Company. So we put our college students also helping our youth, and we maybe take some Sunday musicians who aren't quite ready, like on our community side, and we'll like put them in youth to train them up and, those kind of things.
Right. Yeah. That's awesome, man. Well, I think this has been a helpful video. I did want to leave with just some action steps. Like once you find somebody, we've talked about that in length now, like find somebody, do that. Spend time with them, tell them the why behind what you're doing. We could talk a lot about this. So we'll do another video. I didn't want to like hash out everyone or we'll be on here forever, but, tell them the why behind what you're doing. And I found that this also, helps sharpen you. It helps keep you as a leader accountable for what you're doing. When you have to explain what you're doing, if it doesn't make sense or you can't explain why, well, then that might make you reevaluate what you're doing and spending your time on in the week. And it just keeps you from doing, keeps from doing just to do it. It helps you give clarity on what you're doing, and then give people opportunity. Like you said, in youth, that's what I'm doing right now. Like with some of the youth, I'm letting some of the youth lead the youth. So like you said, it's not like they're less or anything, but the bar is lower because they're in front of their peers and it's not like on the live stream or anything like that. And so give them the opportunity to fail / learn. I like to say that, like, there's no failing. It's just an opportunity to learn. Okay, what do we do?
Yeah, that's good.
And then that's when you give support, give feedback, and then you just do it all over again until you've made progress. So, any closing thoughts?
Yeah, I think a couple of things I think of with development is that, like, I think of it as like a pendulum, it's like excellence and development get pitted against each other. And it's like, you can either develop people, but no excellence, or you can have high excellence and no development. I think really the middle ground is where you want to land, which is a certain level of excellence that's like, that gets people excited, because there's no way to like kill development faster than like creating an environment where people who serve are like embarrassed by what they're doing because it's not great. And so I do think there's like a sweet spot where like putting like a really safe play. That's why I like a freedom to fail, like a safe place to fail. And like you're right, there's no such thing as failing. But I also think of like a mama bird pushing a baby bird out of the nest.
Yeah.
You only get to fail that hard once. Because what happens, the bird either flies or it dies. And so like I think too with like,
fly or die, baby. We should get some
fly or die. But like I think sometimes in ministry we can have such an eye towards like, push them out, let them fail, that we actually like, they don't ever like take off and fly. They just like kind of fail and get embarrassed and like don't develop. And so that's something I would guard against too, is just saying like, make sure that like you're always thinking not primarily about you and your ministry, but primarily about the people that you're ministering to and those who you recruit. And so like the people in your church aren't some like commodity to be used for your ministry.
That's so good.
But you have the opportunity to minister to them.
Let's mark that. We should probably make that a topic of a video. It doesn't have to be an hour long, but that's probably good. Like how to value volunteers and workers in the ministry and not treat them as a commodity. That's something we've been talking about as a staff even. So I think there's something we could talk about there.
Yeah, for sure. But I think that's just huge with development, because it's really easy to start thinking like, I need volunteers, so I'm going to develop you so you can serve me. But actually we should be thinking like, we are in this kingdom together, and I want you to flourish as God has designed you to serve his church, that you might find your greatest joy in serving Jesus.
Yeah.
And like, that's just a way to reframe. It's like, actually, I'm here for you, not you being here for me. And so I just think that's a super helpful way to think about developing people.
Yeah, for sure. Well, Dalton, thanks for coming on the channel again. We'll do it again. If people are meeting you for the first time, where can they find you?
Yeah, Instagram at Dalton Schaefer Music. My website is at Dalton Schaefer, or not at www.com, DaltonSchaeferMusic.com. I mean, you can find me on Spotify, Dalton Schaefer. All my songs and stuff are there. And I got free resources. So like if anybody wants to lead any of my songs, free chord charts on the website, as well as if you reach out to me, I can get you tracks for everything. And so got some new music coming out soon too, which I'm excited about.
Oh, nice. I can't wait. Yeah, I put your last song on the new songs playlist, so people are getting familiar with it, because I might be adding it soon. I don't know. We'll see.
Come on. Let me know if you do, man. It's fun.
Will do. All right, man. Thanks for being on here. Guys, like, subscribe, do all the YouTube things so more people can watch this amazing content. And I'll see you in the next video. Bye.